Hi, everyone. My name is Rami Enbashi. Thank you for attending this presentation. I don't have fancy slides with my picture in it, so this is how I look like almost most of the time. Today, I'm going to talk about a new approach to look at Magnolia. So, front end, we heard a lot the word front end today and yesterday. And the problem was mentioned a lot. But a front-end approach to solve this problem was not mentioned. So I'm hoping today to share a front-end perspective to the problem. So before I start, I'd like just to know the audience more. So how many developers we have today in the room? If you don't mind raising your hand. And how many front-end developer among those? Okay. All right. So here is the shortest version of my presentation. We all know Magnolia is very powerful, but it can be painful at times, especially for a front-end developer whose main purpose is to build templates and configure them. And we have a solution that would empower the front-end developer to be treated as a first-class citizen with Magnolia without compromise on the tools that a front-end developer uses usually. So I'll talk about the solution, and I will do a live demo of the solution. And now for the long, boring version. So I work for NRG Edge. We're based outside Philadelphia. That's the United States of America, for those who don't know where Philadelphia is. We are the largest Magnolia partner in North America in terms of implementations and number of clients. This is a select sample of our clients. So let's talk about Magnolia as a platform. So it was announced that the name has changed officially. But as developers, we always look at Magnolia as a platform, not as a product. And I like how Ben and Tomasz finished their presentation with this kitten picture, because it expresses feelings. And when we talk about platforms, it's important to define users and how they can express their feelings while they interact with the platform. So let's define some users. We have a content editor, like Ben, usually a marketing person. Most of the time without, or let's say the technical knowledge is not necessary to use the platform. They interact with the system mainly through the Pages app, sometimes with the Assets app. The interface is super user-friendly. It allows them to achieve a lot by doing very few tasks. The interface itself is inviting. Green bars that tells you, click me. When you click, you have no other options but do your job, put the content. Change your mind, no problem. Click the dialog again, put more new content. So easy. You do a lot of stuff from one environment. You don't need to download tools, IDEs, you just need a browser. You see how the page looks like on different screens. You make a lot of decisions, or few decisions, depending on what you want to do. And then, if you're happy with the outcome, you can initiate your workflow. How can you describe it? I don't have a cute kitten picture, but I like those rage faces, especially in this giant screen. They're very expressive, so this is how the experience can be described. Happy. Now, let's talk about another type of users. Template developer. Before I start, definitely, it's not the same expression. I can see people relating to this. Nothing negative yet. It's more like confused. Let's see why. Something as simple as this. You have a small design snippet. You want to implement it in Magnolia, meaning that you want to code it in HTML or have it already coded, and then content manage some fields so that the content editor can provide the content through the Pages app. What do you need to do? Just for the simplest task like this, all what we need is an area with a dialog. No components, nothing complicated. Well, you need the famous area definition. This is, by the way, based on 5.3, so we'll get back to 5.4 later on. So at a minimum, you need to provide the configuration by hand. And then you need to do the dialog for each field, provide the name, title, content, type, required, yes, no. Even the buttons, even the actions, even the tabs, you have to provide them through the configuration app. And then you have to convert your HTML to a template script or a free marker script, where you replace the dummy content or the placeholder with the name of the field based on the type. And then, to help your other colleague or your client, you usually provide some content, provide some context for them. The content ends up in a different workspace in the JCR. A lot of configuration, a lot of work for the simplest task. Things start to get a little bit on the negative side. And no one says it better than Exhibit when he makes fun of us. Okay, now, let's add some components to the mix. Things start to get messier, right? How about nested areas and double the complexity? Themes. You put your CSS in your IDE or your front-end build process, and then configure the theme through the configuration app. Start to go crazy, right? Now, change your mind. I'm not talking here about rewriting your scripts. Something as simple as renaming an area. You need to rename the area, and then, logically, you need to rename the title. The area is linked to a template script that sits on the file system usually. You have to go there, rename your FTL file. But then, the rename does not reflect on the area. You still have to rewrite the path. Good luck not making typos, being on your own finding about those typos. And then you have your dialog, same scenario. And then they're not linked anymore, so you have to change the path to the dialog. And this is where you start to shed the first tear, asking for help. Maybe a team can help you. Maybe if you are a group, you can team up on it. But in the best case, your team can cry with you. Now, forget to export your configuration. I dare you. Actually, I double dare you. If you have seen Pulp Fiction, you know what happens next. If you have not seen it, you deserve what happens next, even if you forget to export your configuration. So, I'm exaggerating. 5.4 is getting better. We'll get there. If you're not careful, usually you end up in a place known throughout the history as the configuration hell. And it's a real place, not a mythical place. I've been there. It's very dark and dull and painful. And I'm sure a lot of you have been there. I hear some laughs. Who knows what I'm talking about? Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you who do not want to admit it, I hope you sleep well tonight. So, you're not alone. That's good, right? Also, there are good news. There are alternative configuration methods. From Magnolia, you have configuration by code, configuration by uploading XML. Groovy code, Groovy script, YAML. I heard about it. I haven't had the chance to try it yet. There are third-party tools like the Vivian's Magnolia Kickstart, which is a brilliant solution, which actually inspired. It's trying to solve a similar problem that the one we're trying to solve, which is a brilliant solution. I received the newsletter, I think yesterday, first release, so highly recommend it to check it out. The MTE looks very promising, reduces the complexity of your configuration. Great, everyone is heading to that direction. But as a front-end developer, I'm not happy. I still have a problem, a very big problem. So what is the problem? My problem is not the fact that the configuration is complex. Reducing the complexity does not solve my problem as a front-end developer. My problem is the fact that configuration is part of my development. I have to do configuration as part of my day-to-day activity while I'm doing template development or front-end development in Magnolia. So that's the biggest problem I have. So to describe my problem again, I want this to become this. I want when I interact with Magnolia as a front-end developer to be like this, not like this. Again, good, bad. This is what we want. If reducing the complexity makes me this, I'm happy. Unfortunately, it does not, because the configuration is not my core problem. On those solutions, from my perspective, from the front end, I work around the real problem, which is we need to do configuration to configure our templates. Because I think configuration is optional. As a front-end developer, we do configuration, but we do it when needed. We do it when we start a project. We do it when there is a change in the requirements. But if we have well-defined requirements, let's say frozen, I don't expect to do configuration. And even if I have to do it, I use, like for example, Yeoman generator. Anyone uses Yeoman generator? Okay, around 3. Perfect. You know what I'm talking about. This is what configuration is for me. I'm a developer. I'm not. Basically, development is not configuration. So I don't want to spend my time doing configuration. I want to do development. Another problem I have is the environment. I'm so happy that we hear a lot about you no longer need to use Java. I don't have a problem with Java. I'm good with Java. I know how to use Java. My problem is with Java ecosystem, the whole environment. Because as a front-end developer, yes, it's true. I mainly interact with CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. But this does not make me a front-end developer. Every web developer needs to know CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. As a front-end developer, this is what I deal with on a daily basis. CSS preprocessor, JavaScript, modules, AMD frameworks, client-side templating engine, similar to FreeMarker, but from the front end. Testing, the most important thing. We as a company, we build a lot of, we describe our solution as content-managed, responsive, UI-focused solutions. The UI is as important as the back end. If we do testing on the back end, we have no excuse not to do testing on the front end. So any solution that does not allow me to use my well-tested, auto-produced code directly in production is not a front-end solution to my problem. What's the point of front-end testing if the outcome of the tested code need to be manually imported in Magnolia, and then, as we all know, since the FreeMarker is a Java-based engine, more often than not, you need to modify your CSS and JavaScript after you put them in Magnolia. So what's the point of the testing if there is a huge margin of error? Again, when talking about ecosystems and environments, the tools that I use to make me productive are based on Node.js. None of those tools have anything to do with Java. And yes, you can bundle almost every build engine or preprocessor with the Maven plugin, put it in the Java environment. But this is good for deployment, for building, not for development. I need productivity. The idea of using those tools is to be productive. A build on any plugin based on NPM or Node.js takes milliseconds. If I put it in under Maven, I'm talking about few seconds, 10 times or more time, complexity. It's not solving my problem when I wrap my plugins in Maven. So, all the solution, since we are, this is a Magnolia conference, a backend, a Java-based platform, our backend solutions trying to solve a front-end problem, and this is the major issue. What we need is a holistic front-end approach, because the problem is on the front end, you can't solve it on the back end. And that's not a problem with Magnolia. That's a problem with the fact that Magnolia is Java-based. The front end is mainly on JavaScript. Java, JavaScript. They have nothing in common except those 4 letters. That's it. Different words, different universe. So it makes perfect sense to separate the environments. And this is why we created the UI sandbox, which is our solution, our front-end solution to the front-end problem that complement Magnolia development or Magnolia template development, that empowers the front end to feel at home while interacting with Magnolia. And this is a key differentiator, is that we never tried to reduce the configuration, because we never considered configuration. We were looking at the bigger picture beyond Magnolia, where the lack of configuration or reducing the configuration is a natural outcome. It's a byproduct of the solution. It's not a design goal. So this is how it looks like when you interact with the UI sandbox, when you build your templates. What you need to run this is the browser, and that's it. Just like content editor, all what you need is the browser. It's very lightweight, fast, allows you to be productive. That we even developed a mobile version that allows you to do almost the same task. Configure your templates, build your websites from your handheld device. So for this to make sense, I want to give you a little bit of background. So because of all those problems, we have been following a certain process to implement our projects for our clients. And I don't want to get in details. If you're interested in the actual manual process, I presented a presentation with the same title last month in the North American conference in Silicon Valley. So once it's posted, you can view it in more details. But in summary, the idea is we separate the development environment. So we have a UI development environment, Magnolia development environment, and we use build tools to synchronize the 2 cycles in a way that allows incremental changes from the UI to the Magnolia. So that in Magnolia, believe it or not, you can go to production without having to do one single line of change of CSS and JavaScript. The same code base, the same front-end code base is used on both. It is a combination of this opinionated order of activity, which is iterative, by the way, and specific tools, very opinionated, which allows you to do this. So another way to look at the UI sandbox is that where it stands on the platform from the user perspective. So the icon at the end describes a fully configured website where the end user can view on their browser. For this to be achieved, usually the most important user of the platform is the Magnolia developer. So if you're in North America, to become a Magnolia developer, usually you have to spend a wonderful week in Miami getting trained by Rich, not sure if he's here, which can never complain about. It's awesome. So to interact with this platform, usually you need to have Java background, Java knowledge. You interact with the system mainly through an IDE, Java-based IDE, and the configuration app. This user alone can do everything is needed, but usually there is a very important user, content editor, who interacts with Magnolia through the Pages app. And this user brings additional skills, knowledge. I hope this is descriptive to indicate strategy or something important that they bring to the table other than technical skills that allows them to do their job without worrying about the technical details, the implementation details that's been taken care of by the Magnolia developer. Perfect. But how about the template developer? I think there is a huge gap between those two users, and this is where the front-end developer or template developer sits, exactly here, in the middle, to bridge the gap. Front-end developer uses his or her own front-end code, whether it's just raw CSS and JavaScript, or their own build environment, Angular apps, AMD, whatever they want. They interact with Magnolia through the UI sandbox, through the browser. That's it. No Java is needed at all, installed or to use, no Java-based IDE, just your favorite environment, because the tool is built using JavaScript-based tools. Another way to look at it is to compare it by the SDK. As a front-end developer, the SDK is against everything I stand for. No argument about that, but I think it's amazing for the back-end developer. Why? Because it standardizes the UI for the back-end developer. It gives the back-end developer full flexibility on the Java side, on the back-end side, and it standardizes the UI. So you don't have to know those tools to build very rich UI. The UI sandbox is the complete opposite. It's a front-end solution, gives the front-end developer full flexibility, and standardizes the way you interact with Magnolia. It does the configuration for you, so you don't have to worry about this. So a couple more slides before the demo. Back to the same example. How can we achieve this? The use of automation. How can we automate configuration? Well, one way to look at this is usually, most of the cases, for the same example, those four pieces of configuration, why don't we treat them as one unit instead of breaking them? You might tell me because I want to reuse dialogues or extend dialogues. I don't think that makes sense. The only reason I would reuse a dialogue because it takes a lot of time to do it by hand. You never reuse a database record. It does not make any sense. The same way, there is no point of reusing a dialogue. What does it cost you? A few kilobytes or bytes in your file system? So bundle them as one unit, but have this feature optional. How do we do this? We introduce convention. This is the missing piece here. By introducing conventions, we can abstract out conventional configuration, and we specify only unconventional configuration when needed, meaning that by default, no configuration. Conventions will take care of this for you. But then there is always this big question. We gain all the simplicity. What happens to the flexibility that we get from Magnolia? And this is why this convention comes with the concept of convention over configuration. It's basically a design principle that allows you to have both flexibility and simplicity. How do we implement that? Well, we all know conventions are subjective. What works for me might not work for you. So we want to allow each user to, instead of doing the configuration per item, to define the rules that come as preset rules defined by a domain-specific language, something as simple as key-value pairs. Now you have your rules, you can take them with you, use them in all your project, share them, and change them based on your use cases, and that's it. Those rules will take care of the configuration. If this does not make sense to you, and the demo will make perfect sense. We introduce a new concept. Configurations are two types, implicit and explicit. Implicit configuration are inherited from your rules. Explicit configuration are the ones that you have to do it when needed. These are the optional ones, and the implicit are taken care of for you. So basically, you can be fully productive without doing any configuration. We want to introduce a new concept. This optional amount of configuration, we want to call it the minimum effective dose of configuration for this tool to function, which is way less than the amount of usual configuration you need to do. So let's jump to the demo. Okay, looks better. So in the simplest form, it's an HTML editor. You can write your HTML with live rendering. So, hello. It gives you the minimum that you need. Syntax highlighting, autocomplete, error. It reminds you if you need something. So you can actually build your template here. Or it's very flexible. If you already have a website developed and coded like this, it's a very simple HTML website with some resources, you can actually import it to the project. So you can copy and paste the HTML, or you can drag and drop the file. Instantly, the content of this HTML is loaded in the app. I have here the HTML, it's already rendered, no styling yet, right? And let's add some resources. So you can write them yourself, just like you can imagine, or you can drag and drop the styles. And you don't have to differentiate between CSS, JavaScript. The tool is smart enough to make those decisions. You can drag a folder by itself, or you can select images like this and drag them. And then, without refreshing the page, they're loaded on the fly. So let me take you on a tour with the user interface. So we have collapsible panes. If you use Xcode or most of the IDEs, you're familiar with the concept. So if you want more space, you can get rid of this, collapse this, see the page. You can go full screen mode, see how the page looks like. You can open it in a new tab. This is like the live preview. You can drag it to a separate screen if you use multiple screens. Same concept for the code here. Here on the left, we have the main navigation of configuration. Now, if you notice, my conventions did a lot for me. It only extracted the content of the body and put the rest in the right places. Something like the SDK, but automated. Headers, it created, so let me show you a little bit more here. It extracted the title from the page. Instead of keeping it empty, it gave me a default, which is the title in the HTML, but I can change it. It took my metadata and put them here. It created for me a page, a real page in the website that will end up in the website workspace under the same name. Now here, let me show you some of my rules. I have a rule that tells me page per template. For this particular website, I have few pages, and usually it's one page per page definition. I don't have a lot of generic pages. Because of that, it also created for me a page and the page template with the same name. If you have a contact us, you create a page called contact us, page definition called contact us. That's what I mean by conventions. Let's go to areas. I don't have any areas. Let's see how easy it is to create an area. So, same example. Let's convert this into an area. So, here is the content, the HTML for this area, right? Maybe, oh, I want to change my site, my mind. I want to call it something else. Whatever I want. Look at the speed. It's rendering instantly, right? Now, okay, I'm happy with this. I want to create an area. All you have to do, type the word area, and that's it. You have production-ready, fully configured area. See, here you have your area. Before I get into more details, let me create a couple of more areas. Another area here, right? That's one way to create an area. So easy, there is even more simpler way. You can, let's say I want to convert this to an area. Here I have a slice mode. By one click on it, every area or every section, every element is clickable now. So I go here, I click on this. It shows me, like a confirmation, the content of the area that you clicked on. You happy with it? You can create an area out of this or a component. So I have now 3 areas done, fully configured. Every area now is clickable, and when you click on it, it shows you, it highlights the area that you clicked on. So let's go here to this area. And if you look here on the side, now that you clicked on it, it shows you the properties of this area. It created a name for me. Where did this name come from? From the ID. That's a convention based on my ID, right? And if you notice here, This is an implicit configuration. It's a placeholder. It's not saving. It's telling me, if you don't do anything, this is what will end up in Magnolia. Perfect convention. The name of the ID in a standard naming convention, camel case, ending with the word area. Where did this word area come from? From my rules. I have a rule that tells me all my area names should end with the word area. Let's say I have a 1000 area. You do one line change. Go back here. Now all my areas do not have the suffix area. Check out all the rest of the area. Gone. Okay. And another convention here that tells me my area title, the one that shows on the green bar, is basically the area name in title case. That's a convention. Usually it's perfect. But what if for this particular, let's play with this one here. Okay. For this particular area, I don't want the title to be based on the, or let's say I don't want the area name to be based on the ID. Now you can, this is the optional configuration. So now my area, this one changed, the value changed, it's in black. This is an optional explicit configuration that's being saved. Now the rest of my conventions follow. The title now is based on the new area. The dialog is based on this. Let me give it, even the naming convention is being overridden. Let's say I don't want my title to be based on my area name. This is another optional configuration. Whatever case I desire. That's it, done for me. Now, let's see the Magnolia configuration that is based on this. Now here, it's bundling, as I said, my area, my dialog, my template, my content, because also I have an option that says group-related config items. If you prefer the Magnolia traditional way, if you want to reuse your dialog for whatever reason, you have the option. But here, all of this is done for me. Look at this. This is the typical Magnolia configuration based on my custom settings that I just put here right now. That's how easy it is to create an area. Now let's add some fields. Okay, let's go back here. I have a content tab that's basically empty. I want to convert this to a field. As you can expect, just type the word field. It gave it a name for me. Because I don't have an ID, it predicted what, instead of keeping it empty and giving me errors, field number 1. The type of it is text. Where did this come from? Based on the content. And the content that will usually, you have to enter it by hand, is already done for you. And it is dynamic. Whatever you do is being reflected here and here on real time. 3-way data binding. Let's create another area out of this. If you notice, this field has some HTML content. And now, if I do field, it did the same for me, but already created the type for me based on the content. And it gave me an HTML editor, not a WYSIWYG. I'm a front-end developer, I know my HTML. Exactly what I want, HTML content with syntax highlighting. I don't want HTML to look like texting. I need some help, the perfect amount of help without getting in my way. Now, let's say this field, the content is plain text, but I know that I'm planning to have HTML in it. This is, again, additional optional configuration. Field type equals. Now, instantly, it became a rich text. Now, go back to your Magnolia configuration. By the way, you're done. Your area definition is done. It's already created the template script and the dialog for you. You don't have to worry about it. The naming, everything, the location, the path, the dialog definition, all this complex stuff done for you. Even the fields. And look at the fields. Field 1, field 2. This is field 1, rich text. Oh, I changed my mind. I want to keep this as text. I don't want this anymore. Already done for you. You don't have to refresh. You don't have to wait for anything. It's back to simple text. This is rich text. Again, it generated my template script based on this, removing anything that's not needed in Magnolia, replacing the field names, and putting the decoding if it has HTML, exactly what you want. How about the actual content? Even the content in the website workspace, done for you. And this is how you create areas and fields. So yesterday, there was a very nice comparison of 5.3 and 5.4 where the configuration time went down from 5 minutes to 1 minute for each piece of configuration. Today, I'm doing a challenge. I'm seeing if I want to see if I can do not each one of them, all of them in less than 1 minute. So I have here a Magnolia instance. All I did is no plugins, nothing here. Just enable the REST module. By the way, don't do this in production. This is very risky, but I'm doing it for demoing purposes. Let's see what I have. So I already did the theme. I did the CSS, the JavaScript, because I just want to move an area. So here is my template. OK, I don't have any areas in the homepage page, right? Let's see. If someone wants to put a timer, please go ahead. How easy it is. So start fresh with this. Okay, we can do this. So let's say, I'm going to make sure I didn't put anything that this. OK, we don't have an area. OK, I think it looks good. Fresh, just HTML. I want to convert this to an area, starting now. So all I have to do, again, go back here. OK, I don't have anything selected. This is the page selected, starting fresh. OK, area, field, good enough. And select this. I'm happy with the default. Perfect. This is what I do on a daily basis. Magnolia config looks good. I'll go to my export now. And now I connect, since I enabled the REST module. It shows me the same areas I have here, real time, no refreshing. I can configure, push everything, but I want to just choose those bundled ones. Again, take another look if you're not sure. Read only. If you're happy, choose the one you want to pass. Now let's see. Yes. Yeah, I was worried. This is a POC, so. We have my area fully configured in Magnolia. Oh, I should have showed you my page before. OK, no problem. We'll do another one. Let's do a simple one. Area. OK, this looks good. Let's make it simple. Yeah. OK. OK, test failed. This is embarrassing. OK, I got my dialog. Perfect. I got my fields. But apparently, the content was missing, so I apologize. I'd say 80% success. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping the time. How are we doing?
We're over.
OK. So I guess that leaves me with, well, I was hoping to show you more about the architecture, but feel free to ask me any questions if I have any time for questions, or otherwise after the session.